Uh, well, I'm here, and I'm here supposedly because of this young man, Eric Lachacz. Eric is the first participant in the Mott Marathon Challenge. So that's why we're here. Well, as the story goes, as far as I know it, I had run the Boston Marathon a number of times, fairly quickly for me, and I came back one year ashamed of my time, which is about 3 hours and 45 minutes, in which, as I tried to share my pain with some of my students, being as empathetic as I am toward them and caring about them as I am, I was hoping for some sympathy. Instead, I was grilled, I was made fun of, I was called an old man, and I was told that it was easy to do what I couldn't do by him. And he had a gang of other people that followed his lead, making things to the point where I had only returned to Ilion at that point. It was like my 5th or 6th year back. I was considering quitting again.
Yeah, I gotta say, I didn't know that Mott was that hurt by our words. So, you know, looking back, I'm glad that we were able to rekindle his love of running, so he keeps doing it all these years later.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thank
that.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. But in all seriousness, yeah, Mott came back and said he finished a little slower, and, you know, we kind of, Mott has a certain, Mr. Mott has a certain relationship with a lot of students, little like little personal relationships where you can kind of, you know, have a little bit more familiarity there. So you kind of feel comfortable to let him know that, oh yeah, it's all right, you're old, blah blah blah, right? So he said, I think on the flattest surface on the nicest day, I could never run a marathon. And of course, I thought, well, anyone could run a marathon. Mr. Mott runs a marathon. I think when was this? This was like early in senior year, right? Like whenever the Boston...
No, well, the Boston Marathon happened in April, so do the math. April to June.
Was it that long? Or that short? Okay. Well,
traditionally Boston's held in April every year.
Okay. Well, regardless, this kind of built up to be like a challenge, and then we kind of thought to lock me into it, we would raise money, because you don't want to raise money and then not do it, right? So, yeah, we reserved the, well, no, I don't even think we reserved anything.
No, we
just showed up.
Yeah.
We showed up to the track. 105 laps. A bunch of my friends came to watch the stupidity, I guess. And yeah, the rest was history. 5 hours and 45 minutes, I think was my final time. A little bit slower than Mr. Mott.
2 hours.
Yeah. Well, there's certain difficulties there because, you know, you get to see new sights whenever you run. This one kind of is more...
Which I also ran up something called Heartbreak Hill.
I mean, so...
Let me kind of fill in some of the gaps that he left out. So we were there as the Relay for Life would traditionally be set up. And so I told him that he could raise money for the Relay for Life.
That was true, yeah.
So traditionally at Ilion, we had some of the biggest turnout for the Relay for Life. So I said, how are we going to raise money? So his quote-unquote friends that were there to watch the stupidity, we sold for $1 a piece a water balloon that they could throw at him while he ran. So while he was actually running, he was dodging water balloons, some that were the size of planet Earth, that for whatever reason didn't stop him and actually made him sometimes run faster. So we actually raised $53 with 53 water balloons. It was incredible.
I think we raised a little...
That was 53.
Was it 53 water balloons? I don't know. I don't remember that many.
Well, we had a lot of misses as well because a lot of your friends were baseball players that played for Mr. Wiles at the time, and you were one of the worst teams in Ilion history. So let me add one other thing. He probably doesn't remember about the distance of April to June because he was probably relishing the fact that he holds a record that we just talked about in CVA Ilion baseball. He's got the most strikeouts in Ilion history, and he's not a pitcher. So there's only one other way to strike out. Again, he says that's a mischaracterization.
Mischaracterization. Yeah, it feels. I mean, for my part of it, it feels really good to every year write a check to Mr. Mott and read about how it's grown every year. All joking aside, I do think that what really caused it to stick around was like the community we have, the types of students that we have coming through the building, especially in those early years after I graduated, who they wanted to have a stake in the game too, right? Like to have their own shot at running and getting their shot at glory, right? Like, and I feel for my small part in it, pretty proud of it, but I'm also like pretty humbled that kind of coming out of this community that they've been able to keep it going, and Mr. Mott obviously being a big part of that as well. So yeah.
In all seriousness, I'll get back to the joking part here quickly.
Yeah, I know that.
Every year that we've been doing this, he does send a check for more than $1 to contribute to the cause, and his father also sends a check of his own. And for the longest time, his father had no idea that his son was doing that he was actually sending money to it. And I would see his father often at running races, which he never ran before, right? He wasn't, yeah, your dad, he wasn't a runner.
No, he was a runner.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
All right, so you just continued the inspiration.
Yeah.
So he would go to running races, and I would see him often, and all he could talk about was how meaningful the event is, and happy that his son was the one to kind of kick it off.
Well, I know it's his last year, but I'll believe it when I see it when he walks away. He's like Tom Brady. Says he's done. It was supposed to be he had 2 years left, like 5 years ago, so we'll see. But yeah, I would love to see it keep going, and I think Mr. Mott would love to see it keep going too, and I'm sure he would still kind of come back and help out in any way he can. And I'll still love to keep reading about it in the years to come.
Wow, thank you. Well, the plan was when he came back for the 10th was special because we had lost a student and we wanted to rally around Jack Day. And so we had 55 participants that year, and we raised over $10,000 for the American Cancer Society. And so he came back as part of the relay, which meant a lot that he had come back to be a part of it. I tried to convince him to do the whole thing, and he said, I'll do the whole thing in year 20. And so I didn't make it to year 20, at least as far as me working here full time. And so he reached out to me, I believe it was that way, or maybe I called you a name and told you that you should show up. But he's agreed to do the whole thing. And so with that, I had actually, because we had to postpone till Sunday, and he came all the way out here to be here from California on a Thursday, his flight leaves Sunday, which is the day we're having it. And I was ready to have a nice heartfelt moment and put the medal around his neck and not ring it. But then he said there's a chance that he's going to be here for the marathon. So I'm going to put this in my pocket, and I hope to put it around his neck.
We don't want it to be that easy, right?
On Sunday. No. So all hopes for a great day on Sunday. It's only supposed to be like 85 degrees, so ideal conditions at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.